You are tuned in to What a Baltimore Online Radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are of the host and not of Lady J Media. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Take me there, Lord.
Standing on the side of the streets, mama say, come to me, give me some sugar, kisses, no candy. It's invisible, holding on to mama in a trash bag full of clothes, enough to make a grown man cry. Looking at the little boy inside, the angel of the Lord stood by my side, whispered in my ear, son, don't cry. A mother to the motherless, a father to the fatherless. Jesus, that's no lie. Mama drove off, man, time flies. Life's like a vapor. Next time I saw her, looked at my watch 13 years later. All is forgiven, don't worry, mama. I found myself in the face of my savior, my savior, my savior, my savior.
All I ever wanted was to know who I was. True love hasn't been come from above.
Take me there, Lord.
Wipe your tears. All she ever wanted to be with me now. All I ever wanted was to know who I was. True love hasn't been come from above.
Take me there, Lord.
Wipe your tears away, away, away.
Sometimes the pain we feel is so real, and there is a time to cry.
All right. Welcome to Spitfire Poetry Shutdown. I am your host, John Hansboro, here with my brother and co-host, Kevin Curry. How you doing, bro?
Sure, man. Happy to be guest host on this, man, and happy to have these poets on and kind of talk about behind the scenes of the pen, behind the inspiration behind what they do. Kind of, take people behind the scenes on how these pieces were made.
Absolutely. This is a special show right here. These two poets were with me when I first started my Spitfire journey, man. So I appreciate them both for being on. Before I introduce them, we're going to do a quick commercial break really fast. Unusual Favor is available on Amazon right now for your reading pleasure. Unusual Favor and Spitfire Poetry Volume 1 and Volume 2 is also on Amazon. All right, first off, we got my sister Natalie Graffree. Am I saying the last name right, Natalie? Please correct me.
It's Graffree.
Natalie Graffree. We have my sister Natalie Graffree in the house, and we have my brother Joshua Young in the house. How y'all doing this evening?
Doing good.
Man, I'm good down here in this warm state of Texas, man. It's sunny out there. Beautiful.
That's good. I'm glad you're having some good weather finally down there, bro. Well, look, we're just going to get right into it, man. We're going to let y'all share some poetry. We're going to chop it up about what you got going on, talk about what inspires you to write. This is the last day of the Women's Month, actually. So we're going to let our sister Natalie come on. Like I said in the beginning, guys, these two poets, all three of these poets actually, were with me when I started my Spitfire journey. So this is a very special show to me. I really appreciate these three and all the others that started with me. They've been consistent with me, you know what I mean? And it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful family thing. So I appreciate all three of you guys, definitely. All right, now we're going to start it off with my sister Natalie. And whenever you're ready, baby, go ahead and do your thing.
All right, I'm just going to introduce myself real quick with the poem. I am poetry, displayed as metaphors and similes, a suburban rhapsody, painted picture of personified praise, distinguished, diligent, and dominating. I am poetry, gracefully embodied with tragedy and exhortation, lullabies softly rocking my precious heart to sleep. My baby, fragile and soft, stitched and bandaged, I am poetry. Poetic lyrics flow from my cerebellum, waves of emotional currents. Tears fall down my face like waters not meant to be chased. Poetic whimpers create a song of fortified loneliness. Glistened my cheeks are as laughter erupts from my belly. Poetry I am, capable of my love. My poetry is me. Ashe.
Ashe, sis.
Hey.
Wonderful as always.
Yes.
Wonderful as always.
Yeah. You got to talk to us, man, about what was your inspiration behind this piece, because you're talking about that you are poetry, and those tears that aren't meant to be chased. There's something there. Open us up a little bit. Talk to us about, the nuances of this piece.
I will say most of my poems don't have titles. A lot of my poems come to me in my sleep, like literally wake me up in the middle of the night. I have to make sure I had that pen and pad on the nightstand or my phone readily handy. And I just wanted to talk about myself. Sometimes we get so focused on what to write about as poets, as writers, and sometimes you just need to write about yourself. You need to love on yourself and write a poem presenting yourself to the world like, hey, this is who I am.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I my inspiration for this poem was myself.
Awesome.
I love it. Joshua, my brother Joshua Young, what you got for us, brother?
All right, for my first one, can y'all hear me good?
Yep, you good.
Yeah, you good.
All right. So for my first one, I'm gonna do this piece called "Changing Seasons." Okay. Fall is a reminder that a sacrifice is required to birth life. Summer is just beautiful, though it makes no apologies for the heat and thick humidity. Spring brings the warm weather that we've all missed since winter. Winter is dark, cold, bitter, lifeless. It is around this time every year a silent yet nauseous moment interrupts my life, pierces my tranquility, weakening my stability as if my firm foundation was actually built on sand, finding myself drowning deeper until my feet touch the bottom because I thought rock bottom was as stable as dry land. If I can be honest, I hate this time of year. Branches withering, blistering winds, leaves falling is a reminder that it's time for me to look in this mirror and accept an uncomfortable fact that something in me has to die. And dying is beautiful, yet hella ugly. And though that be the case, death is quite necessary. Contrary to the popular belief, death equals maturity. I see you still struggling to grasp my point, so let me help you. We should be appreciative of death because something had to die in you. Like NASCAR, you were making moves going around the same circle, heading nowhere at reckless pace, only to finish back at the starting line, so nowhere was indeed the destination on your GPS. Doing the same thing, expecting different results is insanity. Think about that for a moment. It's hard to live your best life when your backwards thinking has you stuck on rewind, but oh, how we try. And unlike the caterpillar that metamorphs to its higher form, we run from the pruning required to be born again. So as much as I hate it, can we please embrace death? Because honestly, you can't be stupid your whole life.
Dang.
Okay, bro.
We got. That's you done dropped a lot there, brother.
Yeah.
Man, you done dropped a whole lot. But let me just throw this out here because, and this is just for everybody, man. And Joshua, first I'll start with you because you wrote the piece, but you're definitely putting something down that is a teaching moment. You're talking about, moving out. And I don't know. I mean, every time we listen to poets, you always kind of listen to it from where you're hearing or whoever's listening to it can always vibe with it and learn something from it, man. But you're also highlighting these comfort zones, stepping outside of your comfort zones and dying, a part of you dying to grow. That caterpillar that you talked about, what gave you the inspiration to write a piece like this that we all got to look in the mirror with, man, to get to the next level? Like you said, not doing the same thing and being is insane. But that sand, you standing on that sand like that was your foundation. Talk to us about that line.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, the reason behind this piece was it's twofold. The first one was, just doing a reflection over my own life and seeing where, the process that I went through to mature to get to where I am, but then also, seeing where I still have to mature in, right? Because no matter how far you go, there's always, some more changes you got to make. There's always another journey that you got to make to continue growing, so you don't become stagnant. And then, the second reason behind the piece was, and I'm gonna take y'all to church for just a quick bit. In the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a chapter in there, and it talks about, there's a time, there's a season for everything. There's a time for laughter. There's a time for sorrow. There's a time for war. There's a time for peace. There's different times and different seasons in our lives that we all just have to go through, and we all have to, walk through. And so, no matter how you look at it, you can try to avoid some of this stuff if you want to. But just like the changing seasons, we have the 4 seasons a year. Right? It's the same thing. There's always going to be a different season in your life that, although it might be uncomfortable, it's still necessary for you to mature and to grow.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's deep.
Wow.
That's deep.
That is.
One thing I noticed about Joshua when I first met him on his poetry, a lot of his poetry is inspiring or uplifting, and it also has a lot to do with the Bible. He's very well versed on the Bible, and just putting things in your poetry like that just lines up with the word, and to me is just absolutely incredible. Because that's not easy. I'm sure it can't be. It can't.
and that
no.
And Natalie, I want to get your thoughts on this, because Joshua's writing this piece. He's talking about seasons. And I think sometimes in life, we got to recognize, or we're trying to recognize, or hopefully having an awareness to what season we're in. I think, Joshua, you made it clear in that piece when you were like, you're going nowhere. I mean, you were talking about the, driving nowhere. But what do you think, Natalie? How do we get that awareness? Because sometimes people are on speed dial, and I know people always talk about what's my purpose, but as Josh was kind of highlighting, it's good to know what season am I in. Like, am I in a preparation season? Am I in a retrain season? Am I in a boomerang season? I'm in a harvest season. What are your thoughts about that? Just chopping it up, just as.
Well, I believe, I totally can attest to the seasons, because just a little backstory on me. I moved here from Mississippi, and I ain't have nothing. I just came, was like, I'm about to go do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going, because I got to get out of it.
But you're going to do it. But that's it. But you're moving forward, though. That's what's up.
Yeah, and it was more so like I had to get out of a season because I had been stagnant for so long. It was time to move forward. And I was just like, it's more than just this one place, so I wanted to start my season, but let me be clear, it could not have been started without God. God was the driving force, has been the driving force of everything, from the move, because it was my first flight, and let me tell you, that was
your first time on a plane.
First time on a plane, one-way ticket.
Pray your strength to the Lord. Pray your strength to the Lord.
I was like, it was from the flight to the DMV to working. Within a month, I had a job. That was God.
Wow.
I switched jobs. I moved. I got fired from jobs, like first time ever, but it was all for a purpose. And once we realized that our purpose is not God's purpose dominates over everything.
Right.
So until we understand that God's purpose is better than our own purpose for ourselves, then we can get somewhere. And he's the driving force even for the seasons.
That's a beautiful thing that's a beautiful thing to feel your purpose, to feel what your purpose is. You know what I mean? Because I never had that feeling until the last couple of years where I felt as though, you know what, this is what I should be doing. This is what I love. This is what I love to do, but this is what I should be doing. And you know, I want to also say with Natalie, you know, I remember when I first met Natalie. Shout out to Danielle Butler and Avery Butler. I met Natalie at a show. We were all doing, all four of us actually.
All of us, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep,
We were all doing
we were all the poets.
her expression show, right? We were all the poets there. And I had to do a scene with Natalie. I remember like a dance scene or something, and she was like, "All right, now is your wife crazy? Because I don't need no craziness." You know what I mean? And it's just funny though, because man, like after a while, we all became close. My wife started teaching that, giving her voice lessons, and we actually adopted Natalie as a sister of both of ours. You know what I mean? Watching my children and stuff like that. So it was a beautiful thing to be able to create a family with all of y'all, man. It really was. And from, you know, Natalie has always been that down south, this good-hearted person to me. You know what I mean? Every time I see her or hear her, it makes me want to, you know, eat. Makes me want to go somewhere with a big plate, get the family together, you know, because she all about love, though. She really is.
Hey, John, you gonna get some chicken wings, John?
Man, I'm gonna get
chicken wings and some catfish, brother.
I'm gonna get something after this, man.
You need some greens and cornbread and some pork chop.
Oh man. Yeah, we've always been a good person, though. Always, all of you guys. Wow, that was deep. So okay. All right, so who we got now? We go with, it's Natalie's turn now. Thanks.
And since we're talking about seasons, I guess I'll do this one. I'm gonna give you a backstory. I said I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna give you a backstory before the poem. I was watching. So I was on this like 90s TV show kick, and I was watching A Different World just like every day. And just watching all the different things. And Nikki Giovanni's poem came about. So I was like, let me dig deeper into Nikki Giovanni, right? So I found an audiobook of hers. I listened to it. It was amazing. Yes. And then I also I think it was like a TED talk. But anyway, she was speaking and she said something that resonated with me. And I just began to write this poem. So here it is. It has no title, guys. No title. Yes. I read a book the other day, flipped its pages one by one, indulged myself in the ambience of the topics, feasted on the meat inside the pages. I laughed. I cried. I sobbed at the essence of this author, shivered at the tragedy and celebrated the triumphs, manifested myself, walked in the shoes of the characters, bent myself in prayer and thanked God for the manifesto before me.
My bad, y'all.
I read myself into benevolence, painted a picture, a masterpiece, signed, sealed, and delivered to anyone bold enough to view it, lightened my load of insecurities, balanced myself perfectly in place to continue this magnificent beauty, allowed myself time. I relaxed, I related, and I released all things negative, all things holding me back that would not allow me to enjoy this precious work of art. And then I think, this author is mad dope. To take something so simple as pen and paper and create an art so meticulously layered into love and lyrics, uplift the sad-hearted, and birth positive adaptation. I wept at the thought, finding the familiar and owning it. My life, meticulously made one word at a time. Like a maze I roam, but through my perfectly planned out journey, I find my way, I find my positive space. I dance through the alleys. I trot down streets. I boldly own my story. I read a book the other day, and with each flip of each page, I saw myself happy. I say.
Wow. Awesome. Y'all, man, it's deep. This is a deep show tonight. Y'all deep.
Because she's just, you know, that part about the masterpiece. And really, Natalie, that's too where people really identify with your work, because you're just, there's no mask, there's no nothing. I'm right here where I'm at. I'm still going. I'm on my journey. And, you know, that vulnerability, I think people can really just kind of really gravitate to. Talk to us about those lines. I mean, you're dropping a whole bunch of lines in this. I mean, that one part about lightening your load with the insecurities, that one part about writing your masterpiece, and hey, you see it, you don't. I can't sit here. That one part about my journey, I'm continuing to find my way. Just take us a little bit, like for someone who maybe doesn't write poetry that's out there listening, like take us behind the scenes on just this piece, from that standpoint.
I believe that, so first of all, the book I read was my life, and the only author of my life is God. He's the only author. We can try to put a sub note here or, you know, subtext here, but he's still the author of our lives. So reading myself and looking over as I look back over my life and I think things over, you know what I'm saying? It brings, this is what the poem is about. Looking over my life and seeing that it ain't been all peaches and cream, you know.
Right.
But I gotta make do with what I have.
Right.
You know, so that's what this poem is about. It's just about me looking over my life and seeing where I've come from and where I'm going.
Yeah.
And owning it in the end.
You know, you give me
I like that.
A feel. I get a feel of first of all, Nikki Giovanni is one of my favorite poets. I love her to death. But you know, you give me a feel of Maya Angelou for some reason. Like you had, I don't know what it is about you. You know, the one thing, like I always say, what I love about poetry, all of us have a different style and a different way that we deliver our words. You know what I mean? And you're like a poetry storyteller or something. You know what I mean? It really goes. You know what? I think it's because Natalie also is a singer, guys. She is an actress, but she can also sing very well. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's the voice. I don't know. What you think?
Man, listen, I think it's all of the above. I think because Maya Angelou was not about trying to be a people pleaser. She spoke from where she was. She was the same, whether she was with people on the streets or the people in Kings and Queens. And I think she was authentic. And I think that's what I'm getting from. She was comfortable in her own skin, and that's what we're getting from Natalie. Like, hey, you know, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys, or the pieces. And she talked about God being the author of her story. You know, really, the foundation of her faith, the first and end. So, yeah, what you think, Joshua? As we get into a piece with you, what you think about?
Man, she was definitely, you know, spot on with, you know, God being, you know, the author, you know, of her life and of her journey, right? Because at some point, somebody is going to write, your autobiography. Now you can let it be you in partnership with God, or you can let it be you yourself, or you can let it be somebody else. And, the story that other folks might have to write on you may not be the authentic you. So you definitely want to let you and God be the author of your story, of your journey, of your life, because nobody can tell it like you.
Right. Right.
Definitely true. It's true there. Well, what you got for us? I know it's your turn now, Joshua. What you got for us next? I know you got some fire.
All right, so insisted. My bad. My computer was getting all wonky, so I had to, I had to get it right. So
That's
my
all
bad.
good, brother.
So with my second one, I'm going to. This is kind of like a frustration piece, so you'll have to bear with me as I share this with y'all. But the title of it is called Enough.
Okay.
They're mocking them. They're killing them. Stop killing my savior. Like some stray dog endangering a population hell-bent on self-preservation by any means necessary. If you had any sense, you could clearly see that Christ's death and rebirth was a resounding victory. Yet we suffer from illusions of sunny skies and clear waters, caught up into a lullaby for the demons eager to devour you. In the midst of mediocrity, we ponder, where is God? Where is he? Well, if you must know, he's been replaced. Your favorite rapper and celebrity was promoted to savior, voted in by the citizens since their lifestyle is a model for their behavior. Last I checked, it took someone pure and virtuous like Christ to redeem us. But instead of the authentic, we choose substitutes notorious for spitting blasphemies. Have we laid down our faith? Are we saying that riches and status gives a person clout over God's son? Do we yet understand that we are following puppets who spike our punch with poison to the tune of their master? Maybe we should stop following God in favor of another who encourages our generation to wild out with the only life we have. Maybe we should affirm our identity in wayward sexual empowerment, where our young ladies are encouraged to use their sexual prowess to get ahead. Pun intended. Glad I got your attention. With all the jokes aside, listen, we seem to be the last of a dying breed. The standard illustrated by the Bible has been defaced, yet we eat it up, enticed by the glitter of a modern society, while the very picture of Christ is systemically erased. What happened? God's words is timeless. We live by culture's timelines, using different approaches to define our lives over the prescription of God's manuscript, disobedience under the guise of modern times. Leaders preaching under the influence of megachurch status, feeding the flock powerless sermons, coloring our addictions with amens and hallelujahs while the word of God is glossed over in Sunday classes. Our way of life chips away at God's standards. Instead of repenting for our transgressions, we use American independence as anesthesia to numb our convictions. We snore while the courts place restrictions on our worship. Christ is slowly scarred over and over and over again. Stop killing my savior. It's going to be a sad day when you finish the murder and he reveals himself as the great I am. Before you open your mouth and utter a real repentance, he murders you.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Man, I don't even know where to begin with that. I mean, wow.
I want to ask this question because, and that's a piece that will definitely. It's a good thing this is taped. That there's a lot in there, Joshua, that you are walking through. I think we'll really appreciate it to go back and listen to this flow, because I think you're touching multiple levels, even of being asleep, snoring while the courts are doing what they're doing, and it sounds, and now we're just gonna talk from lyrical standpoint here, and also from a point of just what you're representing. It sounds like, when we talk about love, and the Bible talks about love, and Jesus is talking about love, he's also meaning stand up for justice. And there's some things going on in the courts where maybe folks do need to stand up for justice, but I also see a sense of belonging. Let me ask it from this perspective, man, because you know, I throw this out here, right? I throw this out here, knowing that different people have different views and folks are where they are. What do you think about the piece from what you wrote, where people are trying to find their sense of belonging and maybe finding it in the wrong place? That identity that you talked about. It's weird because I'm on a plane now, Sister Natalie. I know you ain't been on the plane much. Take your time, girl. Take your time. But I remember being on a plane one time, and we did a big drop. Now I'm an Air Force guy, so are you, Joshua. We did a big drop.
Yeah.
Now, even people who didn't necessarily profess God or anything like that, the imprint on their soul said these words: "Oh my God!" Not just "Oh God." Oh my God!
Yeah.
They didn't think it. They didn't think it. It wasn't anything that they preconceived. Just with the finality of that fear that this is it. Do you think that maybe, God is the creator and that the imprint of God is on everybody, but somehow it's been buried or lost for some folks, and they're finding their sense of belonging somewhere else? Because it's definitely an imprint.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail like on the head, like and just like you said, well, with that example being on the airplane, right? I've had that same experience too, where I don't know if folks are are saved or are Christian or whatever a religious affiliation they have, but they all say the same thing when you hit some turbulence, some hard turbulence, or there's like a sudden drop with no warning. It's oh my God, or some folks just straight up call out Jesus, woo, right? So I do agree that there is an imprint on everybody's soul, right? And so everybody kind of has this understanding, right, that there is a higher being, or there's a higher purpose, or there's a higher calling, there's a God of some sort, right? We all can attest to that, whether we've heard other people say it or whether people just kind of instinctively like know it. So yes, there's an imprint on people's souls, and it's interesting that what I found is that, listen, life that is hard, that this life that we live in, it can be messy, it can be drama filled, it can be straight up ugly, like really bad, ugly. And so everybody has this understanding of God, but yet, how many times do we actually go deeper and actually seek that out to see, who God is, to learn about God and to get some type of a basic understanding of God? Are we okay with just simply, letting society dictate what the rules of interaction with God is, instead of letting you seek Him out for yourself to determine what that relationship should be, right? And so just like as you heard in the piece, what I'm saying, it's, this society, this world is doing everything it can to kind of stifle out, God, to kind of, muzzle Jesus, right? And so you have to really be paying attention and then really understanding that, okay, there's a reason why there's all these different agendas pushing against God and pushing against Christ. So you have to have some desire in you to seek Him out for yourself, to really understand what's going on around you and in
you. Interesting. Very interesting. Good. Very interesting.
I just wanted to ask you too, Natalie, like, based on what Joshua was saying, what are your thoughts on how you engage the world around you with your faith, but also the common good of the community that Josh was talking about, regardless on what other people believe, but still being able to still come and have your faith represented beyond words, but just partnering even up with other people in the community who may believe differently or be in a different space, but still you guys are coming together for a common good. How how do you balance that out as you shine the light or shine your light?
I believe Jesus did everything in love. So that's how I should be Christ-like, trying to be Christ-like. I should do the same. Whether you're black, white, gay, lesbian, whatever, atheist, my ultimate job and goal is to be love to those people who most or some Christians will shun, because Jesus went into the trenches.
He was in the houses of them. He was in the houses of them tax collectors, and that was and at that time, when people would say tax collector, but at that time, that was some of the low in society, and he was everywhere. But go ahead, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't go and commune just with Christians or congregate with just Christians. He had to congregate with non-believers in order to draw them in. We're not going to draw in those who are not believers with hate and throwing the Bible at them. Sometimes you got to dress it up.
Absolutely.
And dressing it up doesn't mean sugarcoating.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to lead with your heart and not with what you want to say. Well, that is not of God. Okay, it might not be of God, but we don't hate the person. We hate the sin, not the person.
That's
you hit it. You didn't hit it because what's the foundation for somebody to say God so loved the world, and that's the world, and and you loving people where they're at, and just remember when like the blind man, he didn't know how he was made, how he could see. He didn't have the formula. He just knew, I can see now. And maybe that provides, and I want to give John to talk about this. Maybe that provides more context on what is it, who is it, this is God that you believe in, when you're actually, like you're talking about, showing that love and having a relationship and building trust, and also being a people of integrity. And maybe it puts some context on what it is that you believe. John, your thoughts?
I always thought that was interesting. And what I mean that by interesting, I mean the fact of when my poetry, I think I'm probably, out of us four right now, I probably say the most like curse words and things like that in my poetry, probably. So for a while I was having an issue with wanting to say certain things in my poetry and not saying it, because at the time I was fully committed into a church, and I was, there was something that came along with that, right? And after a while, once I started writing and my writing got even more and more deep, and it was helping me to heal myself, I came into a conflict. I'm like, I want to say it this way, but I can't because of, my Christianity and what I do at church, and everybody's going to be looking, and I don't want to embarrass this person or that person. And I saw something. Nikki Giovanni was I say this all the time. She was doing a speech to some college children, and basically, long story short, she was letting them know that it's our job to express ourselves in the way that we feel as writers and as poets. And if you don't put your all into it or put your heart into it, what's the point of you doing it? You know what I mean? It's like you're some type of whore. You're pimping yourself because you're not being honest with yourself. I felt like I wasn't being me, and then when I would come home and I sit down and I start writing and I get into my writing, it was like John was there. That's when I was able to connect with myself. And then I was thankful that I had a journey of going to church, because it taught me how to put God in my life and not get involved in the politics of it. That was my problem, honestly. I didn't like the politics of what goes on in these churches. So, and I have quite a few poems that have stuff to do with the Bible and things of that nature. But I came to a conclusion that this is what God has me doing, and I'm going to do it the way that the best of my ability. And if I say something to offend somebody or somebody don't like it, they're going to have to pray for me about it, because other than that, I'm going to say what I need to say. I made that decision a few years ago, and I've not turned back, and I'm not going to. It is what it is.
I think that's an interesting, and Josh, I want to get your thoughts on this, because I think this kind of takes. This is first thought, John. Thanks for sharing, man, because you're really being real where you're at. I think I'm reminded of, you had mentioned Maya Angelou, and I'm reminded when Common, the rapper, he was saying some lines and he was using the N-word.
Right.
Maya Angelou has some. I don't know if y'all remember this, but Maya Angelou in Love, like your grandmother would, like your aunt would, was like, look, man, why we using that word? Do you know the meaning behind that word? Do you know what our folks went through? And so Common was trying to explain back to her respectfully, like, all right, mom, I'm not going to, when I'm with you, I'm not going to use that. But he was trying to say respectfully, it was a term of endearment for some of the ways that some of the rappers were using it in their lines, even though, like they say my in the N-word, right? Mm-hmm. But I also know there's also the thought that, hey, there's an emotion behind these words that we want to use. And if it's a curse, if you're blessed, why would you use a curse word? Now, I'm not saying that to you or not, John. We're just having an open conversation.
Absolutely.
As poets. So I think this is beautiful to talk about, because I think some folks are where they're at. I prescribe to the thought of trying to use different other words to express that emotion. So that curse word may have a specific motion behind it and a story behind it, but I try to use the other words available of what we would call bless, not curse. What are your thoughts about that, Joshua?
So, first and foremost, I always say, as an artist, right, as a spoken word artist, as a poet, right, you always have to be authentically you, right? Because if you're not, then first of all, you're not being real with yourself, you know what I'm saying, as John said earlier. But at the same time, other people are going to know that you faking the funk, or as the young folks say these days, you capping. Right. So yeah, big cap. Right. So folks are going to know if you're being like true with yourself. So and I understand, right, that friction between, like being a Christian and then also trying to express yourself artistically, because there's going to be some times where they both collide, in an uncomfortable way, because you want to express yourself and really say some things and get some things off your chest, right? But then at the same time, the Christian side is like, okay, I'm with it, but just figure out a way how you can say it without going for their neck. But then, listen, I've written quite a few things that I haven't shared yet, where I just came out and went straight for your throat. So I get it, and it can be a therapeutic sometimes to really just come out and say what you need to say artistically. And one decisions in the same line with John, one of the decisions I made years ago was, if I write something, it's going to be how I write it. If people get in their feelings, they feel some type of way, okay. I mean, that's kind of your issue, not mine. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to say what need to be said. And, if you feel some type of way, I can't even apologize for it, because if I get a chance on a mic, on any mic, and I'm going, give a disclaimer like, hey, I'm going to slang this heat, and it might burn some of you, then so be it,
I feel like, the way we deliver what we say can reach somebody. It may not reach everybody, but it may reach that you know, that one person who's not into any religion at all, who's just
right,
you know, just out there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then it was hard for me. Huh? What'd you say, sis?
It goes to who you know, we got two sides of the family. We got Jesus and we got Peter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want Jesus or you want this Peter? Like, who you want?
Right. Right.
Peter did come off like, I don't, you know.
Yeah.
It
was hard for me, but like I said, the thing that got me over it was Nikki Giovanni, and then thinking, like I just said, you know, whatever I deliver is going to help somebody the way I deliver it. It may not be that person who gets up every Sunday and go to church. It may be that boy that's on the corner that's out there selling dope though, or that little girl who's thinking about killing herself or something like that because she's, you know, bisexual and she's getting ridiculed because of how she feels, and she don't even know what's going on with herself. She's confused, she's young, you know what I mean? So it's hard. It was hard for me not to just speak the way I want, because I believe us as poets, we are healers too. Like it's a lot that comes from us saying our words to people. You know what I mean? It really is. Some people get motivated, some people get sad, some people get all types of different emotions just because of a few words that we put together. So I take it very seriously. And like Joshua said, if people don't like what I say, oh well. That's how I feel about it. I'm done with that. So I think it's Natalie's turn, right?
Yeah.
All right. What you got for us, sis? So before you do your last one, talk to us about what you got going on. If you're doing anything lately, I know you just had the baby, so you're pretty busy, I'm sure. I know you are.
Yeah, I'm definitely busy between my husband and my baby. Yeah, it's a lot going on around here.
Please tell your husband I said hello too. Definitely.
I will. I had just started a little small business with Cincy, so we're gonna see how this goes. Because I'm not going back to work for a while with the little one and everything, and then we're leaving the area. So you know how the military just want to pick you up and ship you on. So we're leaving. So it's been a lot going on. So y'all just pray for us and pray with us that everything keeps going on and everything keeps being as good as it's been, because God has definitely been good to us.
Absolutely. Does your writing help you to get through some of these things that you deal with, the changes that you're going through?
You know what, Gun? I have not written in so long. Every time I start a poem, I can't finish it. And I don't know if it's just because where my mind is. You know, we sit in writer's block a lot as writers. And sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to put a pin in that and I'm going to go to this one. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's been a lot of back and forth right now. So, I mean, I haven't been able to write about the pandemic. I haven't been able to write about, and I think it started with the police brutality. I shut down. Like I was so mad that I couldn't write anything. So I was just like, it's too much. It's too much going on. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lot.
It was back to back.
Yeah, it was just too much.
On top of the pandemic. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, that was the only way I was able to get my feelings out, was to write something about it, because it was beating me up too. Really was.
It was so much that I couldn't even talk about it. I was just like, I would talk and then I'd be like, it ain't helping nothing. So I just shut down. Yeah. Everything just shut off. But
I hear you, Steph. Well, I'm eager to hear what you got for us next.
Since we're talking about this melanin, these Black lives that we've lost, this one's more so about Black women, though. Sorry, I'm a little biased.
Nothing wrong with that. It's Black women's month.
Do your thing. Right. and everybody on here came from a mother, so come on now.
I know that's right. Your skin glows as if the sun and moon had a conversation and agreed to make sure you glowed every day and night for the rest of your life. Melanin pop like kernels on the stove when it's hot, golden like the streets you were made to walk on. Beauty is your name, almond-shaped eyes, succulent lips, thick thighs as if coal mines were meant to dwell. You are worth more than precious rubies and diamonds. You are all those things and more. You were given a platter of soiled items, and you, being the cultivator that you are, clicked your heels, tamed your mane, and got things done. You are the epitome of a job well done. Honey, when God made you, he used every piece of perfection he had, and then he broke the mold. When God made you, he cried a cry full of beautiful tears that grew your hair so thick when he saw the purpose you would fulfill. He smiled so bright he left a dimple in your cheek that shows right through. Your beauty is so breathtaking that men marvel but don't touch because they know they can't talk to you unless they talk to you correct. My dear, you are regal. Ashe.
Ashe. That's beautiful, sis.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Good, man. It's a coal mine diamond between the thighs. Oh,
hey, John, I know you was going for that one first, man. I was like, John definitely going to coal mine. John going to that coal mine, y'all.
I mean,
man.
I think I piggybacked that off of Maya Angelou's poem, "Phenomenal Woman."
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that part, and listen, it's beauty. It's beauty. She keep it 100.
Absolutely.
She keep it 100. You know,
skin popping like kernels on the stuff. I mean, come on, man. Golden brown. Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, Joshua, what you got for us, Joshua? Before you go on, before we get out of here, Joshua, tell us how people can follow you and what you got going on right now.
So they can find me at spokenice.com. Again, that is spokenice.com. And on there, you will find some of my products, like my recent book, which, I don't know if y'all can see it, but this bad boy right here. So, Spoken Thoughts, Volume 2. So there's that. Oh, and that's in paperback and audiobook version. So
is that on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. The audiobook you can get from my website directly, as well as one of my old mixtapes not mixtapes, EPs from a few years back. So there's that on there. You can read some of my blogs, because for a hot minute I was a blogger, so I got stuff on there for different kinds of folks that like writing. So yeah, swing by on the website anytime, see what I got cooking. You can listen to some stuff. So whatever hopefully there's some stuff on there that your ears will like, man. And what I've been working on recently, honestly, man, it's just been family time, right? Because this pandemic has like reset like a whole bunch of stuff, right? So everything, when we was in like the real thick of it, when things were shut down, schools, jobs, you name it. So I just been really trying to focus on spending time with my family, really developing my daughters, because I got 3 of them and they're a handful. So it's really been really focusing on the father role. So
I know that ain't easy, but you do it well, brother. You definitely do.
Man, I appreciate that. And so the last piece I'm gonna do for y'all is, I think I'm gonna do this one. I think this one is called Profile.
Nice.
Angels, humans, it matters not to me. It makes no difference. I am the Cancer, the very entity that causes enmity between you and God. And ever since the fall, I love for you to take pleasure in me. My resume started with Adam and Eve. And ever since then, I barely break a sweat to blind humanity and keep them from bowing on their knees. I've been around for quite some time. I've seen the blueprints of God's original intent, often spoiled by the fleshly desires deeply rooted in the human mind. That was then, and this is now. Times have changed, so I altered the game. Or so it seems. I just added a new twist, so what seems new is in fact still the same. My game is deception, sneaky like a crook. If I got you thinking otherwise of God's word, I got you shook. You can't avoid me. I'm everywhere. Like Siamese twins, we've been connected since birth. But the joke's on you. I split my sides every day. Even if you try to escape my grip, I'm at your church. I'm the hidden motive behind the woman with the short skirt, the married man with the wandering eyes. I'm the reason for your church administration stealing your tithes. I lay low in plain sight. Your attempts to control me are terrible. The system of this world is the mark of my character, validated by my signature. I'm the proprietor of false doctrine that keeps you locked in to pointless religious traditions with no real power to get you tapped in to God's grace. You know who I am. Some call me the evil from within, but you can simply call me sin.
Wow. Damn. Call me sin, huh?
Yes.
Man. What you think about that, Kevin?
I think he's just kind of pulling back the veil, like, what's the motivation? Sometimes somebody said, "What's the motivation here?" Keeping a light on while we do what we do, and staying as my cousins would say, staying woke. Staying woke, not awake, woke. And not being used for something that's not necessarily, good for, not being selfish, and open yourself up to other things that lead you astray. So
yeah, I think you were pinpoint accurate, man. The way you put it together, the church, the husband with the wandering eyes in church, and all of the different the way that you put stuff, because that's what goes on out here, in some places, that's what goes on. That's the reality of it.
Man. That mind, it's that mind. He's talking about the battlefield of the mind, man. Like staying woke on understanding that, even with your spirit. So yeah, even if you are born again, as Christians would say, born again and give their life to Christ, it doesn't necessarily mean that the soul, that mind, that will, that emotions is transformed yet. That's the process. That's the work. That's the walk. So, we can be contradictions of ourselves, understanding that God is really not about just the four walls. He's about a relationship. So I like that piece, because that speaks to all humanity,
Absolutely. Man, well, our time is running down as usual right now. I really appreciate you guys for coming on. This was a blast from the past, as my brother Kevin would say. This was really nice, man, to see the family together. This will not be the last time you see Joshua and Natalie. Look for both of them. Look for both of them on social media. Definitely get some of Joshua's work. It's very good. It's very good. And Natalie has a wonderful voice that will just soothe you. So
put y'all websites in the chat. So John will post it. Put your stuff in the chat so John's gonna post that on the out there, so folks know how to engage and get in touch with your work.
Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for coming on. As always, y'all always support me, man. I appreciate and love you guys. I need y'all to be safe out here, man. Please be safe out here. And like I said, on my other show, I believe this. In order to be blessed, we have to bless others. In order to stay blessed, you just have to bless other people. That's the work in it right there. Blessing somebody else.
You're right.
That's the only reason I'm able to do what I do. That's it. So it's good to see you guys. Kevin, I'll see you week after next. Natalie and Joshua, love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe. Take care of those beautiful families. Say hello to your wife for me, Joshua. And Natalie, you say hello to your husband. Y'all have a good night. I will see you on next time.
Love y'all. Pieces.
Hey, y'all. Take care, y'all.
All right.
a lie, attacking self-esteem. Nobody wants me, nobody loves me. It's not true. But God chose you, and he loves you so much. His son died for you.